Floyd's Mayhem Garage here. Well, got the race car in the shop, and it's looking pretty ridiculous. This thing is absolutely just wild. But yeah, here she is. I got some thinking to do here. So, one of my thoughts, looking at this thing's just so cool and just absolutely wild and ridiculous. And so part of me kind of wants to leave this as it is and, you know, put a motor in it and get it driving and at least go around the block, which I'm probably going to get myself in complete trouble if I ever do that. Or, you know, at least even possibly go to a track with it like this at some point. How awesome would that be? But then, of course, you know, I'm sure there's any sort of track that this would actually be effective on. I'm probably going to be, you know, not even probably close past inspection or anything like that. And any of the smaller tracks are just kind of at that point. So, that kind of brings me back. I need to cut this thing apart. Plus, even if I were to go that route, I still can't fit in this thing. This thing is tiny. It's little. I haven't even tried, but I know for a fact I can't even come close to fitting in here. So as is on the camera, it's dark in here, but you can still see enough. This, it's tiny. So, you know, all of me is not fitting in here. So I definitely gotta fix this somehow anyways. Looks like potentially, you know, roll bar, you got this bar coming back. We got some sort of dead space back in here, but I don't know how much. But I suppose that's what I'm about to figure out. So since I can't fit in this thing, it would be really cool to leave it as is, but that's not what I bought it for, and I'm not gonna be able to drive it if I keep it this way. So I think I want to start drilling out some rivets here. See if I can get this front end off, see if I can get a door off, and I want to start looking at this thing a little bit closer. So, because, you know, suspension-wise, it's going to be cool, and once you start getting the body apart, you can really see how this thing's put together and made, and should be pretty interesting. So, let's start cutting. Huh. Interesting, huh? This thing comes apart pretty easily, actually. In here it was a little difficult. Had to get the, oh man, you can see there's a million different holes. This thing's been put together a whole bunch of times. But those are a little tough to get into there, but interestingly enough, this is coming apart pretty easily with just pulling the rivets apart. I mean, even where the door met up with the fender here for the A-pillar, this is all loose now, so the roof's basically ready to come off. Yeah, this thing's pretty wicked, and this is badass. So, tracing my power steering lines here. So, got my rack, I got my box, which gets input from the steering column, tells it which way to steer, and then those blue lines go all the way to the back. This thing's got a power steering pump on the rear differential, so it runs off of the drive shaft. So at speed, this thing's always got power steering, which is totally wild. So I don't know if I'm going to keep that or, you know, because I won't have any power steering while I'm not moving, but I will when I'm moving. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. I'll have to play with that. That's really cool, but it's really weird at the same time. This thing does have a 3-link setup in it. Yeah, it is the quick change rear end. But yeah, look at the frame rails here. My initial idea with all this was to get it to where I could lengthen, I think, the the main part of the body here was the original idea, and kind of looking at it, I think that's still going to be the plan, because I could, the way the rear suspension's set up, it is easy enough to, it's a 3-link, so I can just lengthen those 3 bars. I'd have to cut some stuff and remove the, either remove or relocate or whatever, the fuel cell, so the whole rear end could come back. But that still doesn't solve the problem of the interior room here. So, and the rear diff sits, you know, here, and this is pretty much the back of this. And with this cage, even if I open this up, you know, like this seat, it's all the way against this cage already as is. So, I'm still thinking that's going to be the plan here. Let me see how this looks on camera. Yeah, you can see them. So, you got a bar over there, center bar, and then this bar. They all run parallel to the car. And now that we got this off, all these outside bars may or may not end up staying simply because of the way the charger body has to sit on here. But other than that, you got all these door bars as well. Crash bars, whatever you want to call them. Those need to, you know, either it's with how narrow it's getting, it looks like I'm going to have room to actually open and close the doors. So that's exciting, and actually have, you know, room for the pillars, so I can have opening and closing latching doors. So that might be pretty exciting. But, you know, I might be able to get rid of a couple of these, or even if I keep them, because all of these run parallel, same with this box channel on the bottom, and it looks like the other side does the same thing. So this box channel being parallel to the whole car, I can section that, lengthen it. I can take these bars, section them, lengthen them. I'll sleeve the bars. I'll get the same square tubing, weld it, and then, you know, add bracing to those. And I think I can end up getting my 12 inches that I need out of the whole center of this car, which is really going to open up the interior. So I think, you know, that's kind of my original plan, or original thought, and it's looking like that's still going to be the best way to do this. Forgot my GoPro at work yesterday, so I did get a little bit of work done since you last saw it. Got the rest of the body stripped off. So this thing's looking pretty wild. This is a super awesome car. This thing is wicked. Let's see, stand next to the heater here. It looks so cool from this angle. Look at that thing. It is wicked. This, you know, just visually as it sits right now, totally has the look of like the vet cart from Roadkill. Just, you know, nothing but just tubes and roll cage and seat. But now that everything's off, we can get a pretty good look at everything. I mean, look at this rear end. Got the cover, so you can quick change rear end. It's got a cooler with its own pump. Pumps from the bottom side and pumps it back into the top of the diff here. It's got a pulley on the front yoke, which runs the power steering pump, which that is the smallest, most tiny power steering pump I think I've ever seen. It's amazing. It's adorable. So, and then we got a return reservoir of some sort, it looks like, and that goes down to the back side, and the front side pumps. And that's what goes up to my steering rack up here, which I got the front of the car cut off here. Cut there and cut here. That was the crash bar that was on the front of this. Got that cut off. My sweet manufacturing steering rack here. Got a boot that's torn, but yeah, this thing's cool. This thing's really wicked. So it's got this directional box, I guess, valve. This is what actually tells the input from the steering column and tells this box what to do with these power steering lines. So, and both wheels right now, if you look at this one, it's tilted this way, and this one's just the same, it's tilted this way. So this was a car meant to go left, and as you can see, pretty cool. We got a whole bunch of shims on this side, not very much of the bolt head sticking out. We got less shims on this side, more of the bolt head sticking out. So just switching some shims around will help straighten this out. And then as well as this side, got a whole bunch of threads sticking out on the control arm, and this side we don't have hardly any sticking out. So just by loosening up all this, I can kind of eyeball this and get this front end back straight. And then I got to figure out weight of this car. If you notice, coil spring on this side, we got a black spring, relatively long, This one, way shorter and a yellow spring. So I got different spring rates on the front. The backs appear to be the same. So I'd like to get some different springs and at least match the fronts up. And then that way I can end up putting the car on scales when I'm done and adjust all the coils and even the car out. So instead of, you know, left rear, right front, you know, weighing more or having more weight on it than the opposite, or, you know, however this car is set up to turn left. Even the car out so it turns left and right equally. So that'll be easy enough to do. It's just literally adjusting all of this suspension, which is awesome. So the whole driver compartment, you can see this whole area is kind of boxed off. The side over here too, steel plating over it for like a crash box basically. So I'm gonna have to remove most of this. I gotta get that seat out because I can't fit in it, and get the driver and passenger compartment kind of cleared up, so I can figure out how to get a passenger seat in this thing. So I'm probably gonna have to do something about all the bars underneath here and stretch them or remake them, whatever. But I'm thinking initially, so it looks like when whoever bought this car bought it as kind of a frame and then you add your own stuff, or, you know, they kind of have just a base platform. So the base platform is this metal. It's got the nice kind of bead rolls in it, and then it's actually tack welded to the roll cage. So I think I can cut all this out. I'll have to remove my ignition system, which it's just riveted in. So I should be able to get rid of most of that. The fire suppression system, which is in place and looks functional, and actually it's still in the green. So remove that because this actually works. I might be able to repurpose that, which is going to be wicked. So I'll be able to keep the fire suppression system. But yeah, looking at this, so we got some sort of data tag here for maybe a inspection of this roll cage. But initial thoughts here, we're going to lop this bar off, and then same up there, and that'll get rid of this crossbar and get rid of it down there where it connects with the frame. And I think I can leave this, cut this off here, potentially cut this off here and here, or try to leave it, probably, because that's going to look weird, so probably lop that off there and there as well, and take these off, and that'll open up the passenger side, and that'll get a little bit better look going over here. And then, yeah, I gotta start getting rid of this sheet metal, get rid of this dash, which is unfortunate. I kind of wanted to try to keep the dash, but I might just end up cutting around the gauges and leaving the metal there for now and get rid of kind of everything else. But that's where we're at. This thing is wicked cool. So I think I'm gonna start cutting off some more brackets. You're looking at them like this, looks like it could be useful, but I don't think it's good for anything I've got. So I think I'm gonna take this off. This rear bar, I don't need it. It's part of the system for the old fiberglass and aluminum body. And the same thing, got a crash bar on the rear. That's pretty cool. I'm definitely, you know, I'm not throwing any of this away. I'll end up using a lot of it, I think. Because like this, almost looks like it would work for a Charger, except I know it'll be in the trunk space for the deck lid. So I want to basically rebuild all this so it works properly with the Charger body is the goal here. So yeah, this thing's just so cool. The panhard bar on this thing goes over. This rear end is just still amazing to me. Yeah, I think I missed the driver's seat over here. It's tiny, you know, I'm a big guy, and I can't even get into this car. So I gotta figure that out. Which fortunately, my other plan, I don't think I've discussed this yet either. I mentioned it. This is a 105-inch wheelbase. My 68 Charger is a 117-inch wheelbase. So since I can't fit in the car and I need to make the wheelbase match, I think this thing's going right in half. So once I get rid of all these bars and get rid of these ones, it's going to leave me these 3 bars on this side at least, and the square tubing down here, plus what other braces we have, which I'll probably just get rid of like a lot of that X bracing for now. And that way I can just literally cut the car in half. I'll separate the bar here, here, and here across these 3. And then I'll go find metal, I'm thinking that fits over this. And then I can sleeve it. And I'll cut a section out. And I'll get probably cut the metal in 2-foot sections. So this will basically be split a foot, and then there'll be 6 inches of metal in each end of the tube, and then I'll weld that up. So it should be pretty strong that way, and sleeving it over that way. But I can also stretch the whole car, and then the square tube, I'll just cut and section in, and then I can plate the side. Kind of like they've done on all of this already. You see down here, like this corner they welded together, they added this plate reinforcement, so I'll do the same thing. And I'll end up stretching the whole thing, which will give me both driver room and passenger room as well. So I think that's what's happening, and I think it should work pretty good. So that's kind of where I'm at. What do you know? A pile of junk. Scrap metal, whatever you want to call it. Some that I'm sure I'll probably still be able to use some of this tubing, but voila, here's how we're looking. Oh, the seat kind of kicked my behind. I'm sort of convinced that they put that into the car before they welded the cage up. There's no way they got that in there. Actually, I think it unbolts several times. I don't even know how they got in there to bolt it together though when it was in there. Either way, that seat was an absolute nightmare, but got it out. So there she sits. And of course, got the structure off the back of this, looking very sleek. And look at this interior, or lack thereof, or whatever you want to call it. So all this empty space, I can finally fit in it. So I was sitting in it, super uncomfortable, but back up against the piece of aluminum there, back up against that bar, butt just kind of sitting down there. And even at that, if you look at how far the pedals are, I don't know if you can see that on camera down there, it's not very far. And the way you gotta kind of sit laying back in this thing, I still didn't have any leg room. So even without a seat in here, I'm still struggling to fit in this thing. So stretching it still is looking like a fantastic plan. So that's happening, I guess. Yeah. But trimmed up these bars, this bar and this bar, so now this opening's bigger, and I'm really liking that. That looks pretty decent to get in and out of. So this one down here has a little brace on it, and then it's the 3 kind of together. And that actually doesn't look too bad. So, and the driver's side's similar, except a little bit different. So this kind of bar comes out and the whole thing is tall, but I think I might end up doing the same thing on that side. Leave the crash bars, because those are, actually very, very useful. That's a good little ding. In cases such as that, ding in the side. It is quite safe, and then it's also very structural. So I'll leave those on the other side, but same thing, I'll cut them down. Tubing on this side, as far as the frame, is super simple. This side, I'm not sure what's happening. There's the same, smaller square channel, but then it looks like there's massive square channel that's actually welded together as well. And there's beads run across, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But I'll gotta get it apart and just check it out. Yeah, gotta finish getting the center out, the sheet metal, and I'll probably get the sheet metal off the back. I got access to what the seat was mounted to now, so that's helpful. And I can unbolt the seat belts now that the steering or the seat belt's out of the way. Yeah, this thing's wicked, but pretty crazy how this thing's put together. Next debacle that I haven't really figured out an entire way how to do yet. Looking at this body, or this car, I gotta cut the body apart. Well, I gotta cut what's left of the floor out. There's not much left, but this thing's gonna be pretty flimsy. But flimsy also means light, so that should be decent. But I gotta figure out a way to get that 68 Charger body onto this frame. So I don't know if I'm gonna try to use like some of the rafters and cut the Charger body apart. Move the race car, cut the Charger body apart here, maybe pick it up, and then roll this back in underneath and then drop it down, maybe. Or I can cut it apart, and I might have to cut it apart outside. And then at that point I can, after cutting it apart, use the skid steer with my forks that I made with ratchet straps and metal tubing and whatever sort of support structure I make, and pick it up that way and then set it on the race car. But all that is going to be kind of done outside. So Yeah, everybody else that I've seen do this, they end up using a lift. You know, they put the whole car on the lift, cut out the floor, lift it up, roll the car underneath it, set it down, and they go up and down, 100 times as they cut and trim and continue to see how much they need to cut of the car and body to get it to actually fit. So, yeah, that's the next obstacle, but I think I'll figure it out. Like I said, I almost using the rafters in here might be the answer on that one, because once I get the car cut apart, it's not going to be very heavy. It's going to be a roof inner structure, partial quarter panels, because part of the quarter panels are already gone, and then it's got no tail panel, and then the front, because I've got to clear all of the front suspension up here, and even all this, the firewall has to go away, and the inner fenders have to go away because they're going to kind of clear all this, and I'll leave the front radiator support is kind of the idea. So most of the body is going to be cut away, and if that's also the case, I might be able to just cut it up completely and get rid of everything I don't want, and it should be potentially light enough to where I can just move it with me and a friend, or me and a couple friends. So I'll just move it by hand. Anyways, that's thought processes. That's where we're at. So, got to take all this stuff outside and got a kind of scrap pile going. I got to figure out what I'm actually going to throw away. Some of the tubing stuff I want to save. A lot of the little things I want to save. The little like square tubing, little round tubing, because I can use a lot of that to actually mount the body back to this. So, yeah, that's where we're at. That finishes up tonight at least. This is probably enough of a video. This might be another one. I might roll this into another one. We'll see. If you end up seeing this, that's the end of the video. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.